Hey planner friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be setting up my small passion journal for June. Let's get started. So this is definitely going to be a slightly different video than I've ever made before on my channel, and that's because I haven't done a journal setup on here before because I haven't had a journal since I started showing my planner on the internet basically. So I have been in a bullet journal before in 2018, and this is very different to the setups that I used to do in that book. This journal is very much going to be for mental health, so I'm basically going to be writing reflections of my day, kind of like I do in my main passion planner, but much more in depth and not really showing what I'm writing in here online. I also wanted to start tracking a few more things to do with my health, and I didn't want to do that in the back of my passion planner, so when Passion Planner brought out these journals I was over the moon because I love the paper quality that Passion Planner has, and it just seemed like it came at exactly the right time for me wanting to set this up. So when it comes to the actual setup, you may have noticed that I'm sticking with my theme colours as I do in my passion planner, because I think if June was any colour other than yellow, I would get very confused. But this just gives me a little bit more freedom to practice some hand lettering and use some of the supplies that I don't really use in my main planner because I mostly use sticker kits in there, but I have all of this washi tape and other stickers that just don't get any use because I haven't found space for them. But I have now. So I'm starting off with my June cover page and also a quote page, and the quote that you can see on the left hand side is actually one of the June quotes from the Passion Planner. I think I'm going to keep doing that because it made it way easier to pick out a quote for the month. I also went with a really simple theme for this month of just yellow and splotches because I didn't want to put loads of effort into doing loads of doodles and kind of burn myself out on this journal before I'd even started. I'm also pulling in some washi tape from my stash and some stickers from the Florals and Foliage Passion Planner sticker book. As yellow is my theme colour, I've picked out 3 yellow pens from my collection, and then I'm also contrasting them with grey. So I'm using my grey Stabilo fine liner and also a grey Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and then the 3 yellows that I've gone with are this darker yellow from Crayola Super Tips, a yellow passion marker, and also the yellow Sharpie S-Note. On these yellow pen splotches, I'm creating a little drop shadow using a darker colour. I really like that I used the dark yellow in the bottom one, but I'm not super keen on the fact that I used the grey in the top one, but it's done now and this whole thing is a learning experience. In the top left hand corner, I'm also creating little dots of each of the yellows that I'm using within all of these spreads. Moving on to the quote page, and the first thing I'm doing is ripping up a little bit of tissue paper to stick in 2 of the corners. So you'll see me do this a lot through this setup, just taking some yellow tissue paper and gluing it in using a Pritt stick. I'm just gluing on a bit of paper that my printer used as a test sheet so that I don't get glue all over myself and my desk, but I still managed to get glue all over myself. I'm then going to trim off the bits that overhang using my scissors and also use my craft knife to trim off this piece that overhangs onto the cover page. When I picked up this yellow tissue paper, I thought that it was just regular coloured paper, which would have been way less fiddly to work with than tissue paper, but it does mean that I can see the grid through the tissue paper, which comes in very handy for my weekly spreads. For the quote page, I'm starting off doing some block lettering using my grey Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and then I'm using my yellow Crayola Super Tip to do any of the more fancy faux calligraphy. I'm not super good at like bouncy lettering and calligraphy at the moment, so this journal is also an excuse to practice that a little bit more. So you will see that I go back and thicken all of the downstrokes on all of the yellow letters. After colouring in the splotch behind my quote with my yellow passion marker, I thought that the word beginning wasn't sticking out too much, or the letters were kind of blending into the yellow splotch a little bit more than I liked, so I went in with my grey Stabilo fine liner to add a little drop shadow around the word beginning. So that's pretty much it for my quote and my cover page, and like I said, I'm keeping this super simple and not really including too many doodles because I wanted this to be a nice ease into journaling again. My next two pages of this setup are my favourites and my highlights from the month. It might seem a little bit weird that I'm putting this so early in my journal, but I want to be able to refer back to this the entire way through the month. The important dates section is mostly so that when I'm setting up my journal I can refer back to that and see if there's maybe a few days where I will want to leave myself extra space for journaling. On the highlights page, I've just added a little bit of yellow tissue paper to the right hand side, and that's pretty much it for that page apart from the title. I'm trying to keep all of my titles consistent throughout the month, so I'm using my Sharpie S Note to do block lettering, and then I'm going to use my Grey Stabilo fine liner to do some more fancy lettering over the top. I've seen this all over Instagram and YouTube. It's a very common way of writing in your titles. I'm also using the same pen to add in some borders around my favourite section, and then going in with my Stabilo fine liner. I'm then going to use the same fine liner and a ruler this time to draw a box around the important dates, just to separate them from the favourites. I've tried not to use a ruler too much in this setup because I wanted the lines to be a little bit more organic and maybe not perfect, because this whole thing doesn't need to be perfect. I'm then going in with my grey Faber-Castell Pitt pen to draw a little border along the top of the highlights page, because I thought the top was missing a little something after the left hand side had so many borders. And then I'm also freehand drawing some boxes in the favourites, and these are supposed to kind of look like post-its but they really don't. And these are for things that I'm watching, reading, listening to, and also places that I visit this month, because we're allowed to visit places again, which is super exciting. I've then just added a little bit of washi tape to keep this consistent with some of the other pages, and the highlights page, although it looks completely blank at the moment, will end up with like photos or maybe like ticket stubs if we go to like the cinema or something, I don't know. That sort of stuff is going on there. So next we can move on to my trackers. On the left hand side I'm setting up a sleep tracker for the month, which will also include my energy levels for that day following the sleep. So I've just drawn a box, and then this is going to have all of the days. Originally I put from 1 to 31 because I forgot how many days June has, but it's now got 30, and then I'm just writing the hours of like the evening into the morning over the top. So I will draw a bar between when I went to sleep and when I woke up, and then colour it in depending on my energy level for the day. And I'm going to get the sleep data from my Garmin because I wear that constantly, and then the energy level is just how I felt for that day. I made a few little mistakes on this page, so I'm just going in with my white Uniball Signo gel pen to kind of correct some of those. The ink in this pen is a little bit dried up, so it's not doing the best job of covering up the pen mistakes that I made, but it looks better than it did before, and I think once it's all filled in I won't notice. On the left hand side I'm just writing in the key for my energy levels, so I'm using two different yellows for good and okay, and then a grey for bad energy levels. To decorate this page I'm using a combination of the yellow flowers from the Florals and Foliage book and also some splotches around the side of my tracker. The grey washi tape is a really old one from Paper Chase, and the yellow bit of washi tape is actually from the Florals and Foliage book. Moving over to the right hand page, and this is my headache tracker. So it's going to look kind of like a classic mood tracker, but it's actually just for my headaches. I find that because I have ME, if I try and do a mood tracker, I'm just tired like every day, so they really don't help me. But a headache tracker I think is going to be super helpful. So I just drew 30 splotches and then did my key, and I've realised that quite a lot of these, once they're coloured in yellow, will just look like chicken nuggets. So once I've added in my key down the bottom, I'm also going to number all of my splotches, because they're still splotches at the moment, they're not chicken nuggets just yet. And then I'm going to use some more stickers from the Florals and Foliage book, and I decided to cut these in half and use them as more of a border, as this page was quite full already, and I really like how that turned out. So moving on to the last spread in this setup, and this is going to be my first weekly for June. And for this week I decided to split each page into 4 sections. So I had a section for each day plus an extra one for my title, and in that title section I've decided to add in this piece of yellow tissue paper that I just stuck down with Pritt Stick again, and then I'm going to add in all of the titles for each day of the week. So I'm using my Sharpie S Note to just draw a line across the beginning of each section on each page. And then I'm going to use some more stickers and washi tape, mostly from the Florals and Foliage book, to just decorate the page. There's no real rhyme or reason to any of this, I'm just doing what I feel like. There's a few stickers in this spread from the Passion Planner Nature sticker book, and also I think one from the Women's Empowerment sticker book. Next, I'm just going to fill in all of the days of the week using my Grace Stabilo fine liner, and I'm not really doing this particularly neatly, this is just the sort of like bouncy lettering that I've been trying to practice. And then I'm just going to keep adding to this page. I really think with this sort of setup that I need to learn when to stop. I don't dislike how this turned out, but it was a little bit busier than I expected, especially once it's all filled in with my ramblings for the week. So now let's just go through a final flip through of this month's setup in my Passion Journal. I've got my quote page and my cover page for the month, and then my important dates, favourites and highlights, and then my trackers for my sleep, my energy levels and my headaches, and then my first weekly for June. I know this is a completely different setup to what I normally do on my channel, but I really hope you enjoyed it because I really enjoyed making this. So that's everything for this video, friends. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!